Hi and welcome to this presentation about Argentina. My name is Jennifer Stanmark and I will give you this presentation about doing business in Argentina. First, here you see a map of Argentina. It's located in the southern hemisphere in South America. It has borders with Uruguay, Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia and Chile. Here are the contents of the presentation. So let's talk about the business context. It is important to mention that Argentina cannot be considered a politically stable country. It has a long problematic history, and in the context of international trade, it has also been a complex country. The main ideology is Peronism, that was established by President Perón in the 1930s. There has been ideas such as freedom of foreign influence, something that led the country to problems today. Here you also see a graph of the political stability the latest 10 years and the actual President Alberto Fernandez. The social context of Argentina, you have 45 million inhabitants. It's a unique blend of Latin American indigenous traditions and European customs. Approximately 85% of the people in Argentina have a European descent. And people are proud of being from Argentina. Some typical main traditions are asado, yerba mate, fernet con coca. They like sports such as soccer and horse polo. Social relationships are important. Tango and cumbia are very important for them. And also you see a very big difference between low and high income people. It's a macho culture, but nowadays we also see a feminist movement in the country. So the environment, you can see that Argentina has problems with pollution from industries and also loss of agricultural lands due to soy production. 36% of Argentina's land area is affected, and it's soy that mainly is used to animal production and export to neighbors. Anyway, renewable energies is something that the government wants to invest in. A goal of 2025 is to have 25% renewable energy in total energy use of the country. If we look at economic factors, most of them are bad. A lower GDP per capita than Spain, a negative GDP growth, high unemployment of 10.9%, extremely high consumer price index or inflation, low FDI, and quite high benchmark rate depending on the CPI inflation. If we look at the sectoral structure, the service sector stands for the highest amount. It's also interesting to see that even though soy production is important and animal production, it's also affecting the environment the most. It only stands for about 6% of GDP. Also some main industries that are mentioned: soy production, automobile production, textiles, energy and mining are very important for the country. In the recent year, exports are larger than imports actually, as the government really uses a protective politics policy and makes it difficult to buy things from abroad. If we check the tech industry if we check the tech in the country, we can see that the infrastructure is good. It works well in urban areas and worse in rural. And most part reliable internet, good cell communication, and for innovation it ranks 80 out of 131, so not very high here, even though it's said to be a country with good universities in comparison with neighbors, and they worked with STI project for improving knowledge during 10 years, but still quite low in comparison with other economies. So some business opportunities and threats in the country you can see here. And let's move on to doing business. Here, in starting a business, Argentina ranks 80.4 out of 100. It places it at 141. There are no restrictions on foreign investment, so all Spanish companies can start a subsidiary in Argentina. And here you also see some possible legal entities. There are quite a lot of procedures. Here we list 12 procedures, which are the reason for why this score is low. It takes a lot of time and it's complex. So dealing with construction permits, there are a lot of different procedures that you have to take. It takes almost a year to get a permit, and also it's when mentioned to that the building control is 11 out of 15, which is higher than many other Latin American countries. Here you also see the 17 steps that you have to take in order to get the construction permit. And here are some information about paying taxes. it's kind of very bad at total tax and contribution rate, almost 50 times, 2 times higher than in other countries in Latin America. Here you also see some quite low scores and complex to get credits and not very favorable legal rights in the country. And some details about trading across borders in Argentina. What documents you need. And for expats, we see that all expats need a visa, also a CUIL. And for starting a bank account, there are some requirements as deny a CUIL, quit, AFIP, passport, and proof of residence. For renting an apartment, it's common to make a lease agreement for 2 years. And medical care, it's highly recommended to contract private healthcare services. Let's see the cultural aspects. Here we can see that Spain and Argentina rank similarly at both power, distance, and individualism. They are neither highly or lowly hierarchical or individualistic or collectivistic. Argentina is actually the most individualistic Latin American country, and it's worth to mention that Argentina is a bit more masculine than Spain, so that means that the population is goal-oriented and want personal success rather than free time. Uncertainty avoidance both rank the same, so they prefer to have clear instructions and safer situations. So long-term in orientation, here Argentinians think much more short-term, the main difference between them and Spain. Also, they want direct benefits when dealing or negotiating. As most Latin countries, Argentina is indulgent. People express how they feel without being restrained, and Spain is more restrained. So, to negotiate in Argentina, firm handshake, eye contact is key. Small talks. It's important to develop good relationships. And even though it seems difficult, everything is negotiable. So if you continue developing the relationship, maybe you can get a deal. Lunch and dinner are good ways to socialize. Also learn table manners, dress well, and adapt to how they act. Some do's and don'ts. And the final recommendations. Here you see that do a risk analysis of all the economic and political aspects. It can be difficult otherwise if you don't know how it works. Also, if you don't have a lot of time to start your business, maybe you should not choose Argentina as it takes a lot of time to start it. It can be a right option for you if you have very specific industries such as renewable energies, food production, textile, or automobile, and if you have the time and effort that it takes to get there. Thank you so much for listening.